Hello everyone and welcome back to DMG. One particular series of laptops that I have never covered on this channel is the IBM/Lenovo ThinkPad. And since I cover a lot of older laptops, that does seem a bit peculiar since, well, the ThinkPads are probably one of the most famous lines for garnering a cult following. And as someone who covers quite a lot of older laptops, that does seem a bit odd, because ThinkPads are somewhat well known for garnering a cult following. And, well, I've just never looked at one, because I thought, well, if people recommend them so highly, what's even the point of covering them? I just thought, it's just a business laptop, can't really be all that interesting. But I finally went out and I picked one up. I bought a T500, and I must say, it is not a bad laptop, but for something that was lauded so highly, I really expected more. The design feels outdated, even for 2009 when it came out, and there are some conveniences that you would find in say a Latitude or EliteBook that this system lacks as a result. And also, some of its hardware configuration is fantastic, but other aspects make the T500 a hard machine to recommend for modern usage. So we will take a deep dive today into the ThinkPad T500, what's great about it, what's not so great about it, and why you shouldn't say definitively you need to buy a ThinkPad, as if no other old laptops exist. As always, we'll start with the ports. It's quite well featured. The left side has one of the fan vents, VGA display port, TIN 100 Ethernet if you don't install the right driver, but it is gigabit. You have to manually set it to gigabit in Windows, which is odd for it to actually hit those speeds. 3 USB ports in a vertical orientation, which I will get to later. Express card and PCMCIA slots. On the front, FireWire 400, wireless on-off switch, headphone, microphone, SD reader, and on the right side, optical drive, 56K modem, and on the back, battery, charging port, and the other fan vent. So it's pretty well featured in terms of I/O. I will say one thing with the battery that I do wish for is a button that, when pressed, illuminates LEDs that show the battery level. By this time, that was a norm in business laptops. I'm not sure why the T500 does not have that. In fact, many entertainment and media laptops, like the Dell Vostro, the Dell Studio, things I haven't covered yet on this channel, also have that button that shows the battery level. So it is a little odd and a little bothersome that the ThinkPad doesn't have that. That was established in business laptops 10 years previous. Something else that was established and accepted as a generally good idea 10 years before this came out was captive screws, of which there is not a single one in the entire laptop. It's not awful. I mean, it's not absolutely horrible. It's not like razor blades come out of the laptop and slice your fingers off when you try to service it or anything. It's just bothersome. It just adds time to the repair. It makes, it adds screws you have to keep track of. And it's, well, like I was saying, it's just outdated. Pretty much every other laptop at this time had at least some captive screws in its case. Another bothersome design aspect is also on the bottom. There's not a door, there's not a panel to access any of this. Take, for example, the Latitude E6400, E4200, E4300, E6410, E5500. All of those you can access the CPU, RAM, and hard drive and wireless cards all with one screw that allows you to slide off the back panel. With the ThinkPad, no, you have to take out all of these non-captive screws. There's about 16 of them on the back. And then you remove the touchpad and palm rest, which gives you access to the RAM. If you want access to the CPU and the the wireless card, you have to remove the keyboard, remove this bezel, remove some shielding, and then of course remove the heatsink for the CPU. So it takes so much more time to actually get to the main hardware of the ThinkPad T500 than it does on a Latitude or an EliteBook. And for a machine that people would say online is like the pinnacle of repairability and upgradability, taking over quadruple as long to actually get to the vital hardware is not what I expected. On the topic of vital hardware though, it uses DDR3, which is excellent. That makes 8 gigabytes of RAM so much more feasible than with DDR2. 8 gigabyte DDR2 kits for laptops are like $60. DDR3, that's like 15. So it's far more affordable to put 8 gigabytes of RAM in this laptop, making it a good deal more useful for modern tasks. It also has a newer CPU support. It supports the P series of CPUs, no Core 2 quads, but it'll take all of the P series chips, the weird laptop E series chips, and it'll take the higher clocked T series, like the T9900. So great CPU support. It has discrete graphics, but unfortunately they are ATI. It is a ATI Radeon HD 3650, and while that is a good and powerful card, it doesn't have Windows 10 support officially. You can install the Windows 7 drivers either from ATI's site or from Lenovo. However, neither of those drivers will make the switchable graphics function work. The T500 has the unique feature, unlike Latitudes of the time, which would only have integrated graphics or discrete graphics, not both, has the unique feature of being able to switch between iGPU and that Radeon D GPU on Windows 7. On Windows 10, the drivers do not make that function work, because the drivers do not support Windows 10. Unlike NVIDIA Optimus, which is compatible with Windows 7 and Windows 10, AMD's/ATI's driver-based switching does not work on Windows 10. It just activates both graphics cards all the time, and it prioritizes the Intel one, so it's more difficult to get things running on the ATI. So I recommend just disabling the disabling the Intel graphics in the BIOS and only using the ATI. That said, I am by no means lamenting the fact that it includes a discrete graphics chip. That is wonderful. However, NVIDIA's discrete graphics, their NVS series for business laptops, have far better driver support. So it is confusing why Lenovo didn't go for one of those at the time. The T500 screen is a 1440 by 900 matte CCFL LCD panel, and its cold cathode backlight makes it look quite nice. It is one of the better looking business laptop displays I've seen. Of course, the cold cathode backlight means it will drain the battery faster because they are not particularly power efficient. However, the display doesn't hurt to look at like LED backlights at this time do. So it is a very nice thing to have both a higher resolution display at 1440 by 900 and still an LCD. So I do quite like this screen. One of the better I've seen on a business laptop. Also at the top, it has the tiny little LED light, the ThinkLight. I do still prefer the HP EliteBooks with the light. You press the button and it folds out. I find that to be much cuter than the ThinkLight. Now, a big reason these older ThinkPads often come recommended is for their keyboards. And, well, that's absolutely a thing I wanted to give a shot, because I find the keyboards on newer laptops to be uncomfortable to use after, using good keyboards on older laptops. So we'll just give it a quick test here. It's not the worst keyboard, it's also not my favorite. The spacebar is very loud and clacky. There is a lot more deck flex than I would have expected from such a sturdy feeling laptop. It's actually a little alarming. And it's not like the whole chassis moves, but the key bottoms out and then the keyboard keeps going down. And that's not a good feeling the keyboard bend under your fingers. It's a little stiff when it bottoms out as well, but I would prefer that to like a loose, rattly feeling keyboard. So it is better than most modern laptop keyboards, but I still prefer the feel of a Latitude. As for Wi-Fi hardware, it features the typical Centrino platform Intel 5100 AGN, so it'll perform like pretty much every other 5100 AGN laptop out there. I have noticed, though, its antennas don't seem to be quite as strong as that of the Latitude E6400, my preferred business laptop of this era. It doesn't seem to get quite the same range nor network speed, so that's just a little thing to be aware of. And also, there are some ThinkPads with a BIOS whitelist for the wireless cards. I do not know if the T500 is one of those because I have no desire to upgrade the wireless card, but just be aware if you are buying a ThinkPad that that is a thing that happens. Latitudes have no BIOS whitelist, Latitudes of this era, that is, although many HP EliteBooks and ProBooks do as well. Even at maximum volume, the T500 speakers are not particularly loud, but I would prefer a softer yet clean sound to a loud, distorted, crunchy sound. And as far as business laptop speakers go, these are better than the Latitude E6400, E5500, etc. So I give the T500 speakers a pretty solid rating. As far as business laptops go, they're quite acceptable. Another thing that is quite acceptable is the touchpad. Of course, it has the nipple. What does IBM call it? The track point. That's it. It has the track point. It also has the second set of mouse buttons that has a middle click. The left and right click on the bottom, there's no middle click there, unfortunately. And I don't like the function that the middle click serves. It just brings up the scroll bar, and in the drivers there is no option to have it serve the middle click function like the middle click of a mouse would. And I don't like that. It bothers me that the middle click on a ThinkPad can't do what a middle click as God intended is supposed to do, like you can do on a Latitude and a Precision and even an XPS. So that is a small woe with the touchpad, but it's decently big, it's decently responsive. I just wish that one button served a different function. Now, before we get to testing that Radeon HD card, I have one final complaint. The USB ports are vertical, and that means they just don't work with some accessories. Some things you just can't plug into a vertical USB port. And I actually discovered this problem with this exact SD card reader because the SD card reader here on the front has a driver that does not work with Windows 10. That, or maybe the one on my unit is just broken. But SD card readers did in fact used to require special drivers, and this one works on Windows 7 but not on Windows 10. Alright, it is ATI Radeon time. Now, of course, the ThinkPad is first and foremost a business laptop. But that doesn't mean its graphics card isn't still capable of a little bit of fun. It has 4 TMU's ROPs, GDDR3 256 megs of it, decent clock speed, and it's also quite well cooled. The graphics card stays nice and cool under load, and it actually does perform significantly better on the charger, so I am going to plug it in. Alright, so yeah, it only clocks up to half of its potential maximum speed when it is on battery. You only get the full 600 megahertz potential graphics card clock when it is on the charger, so just keep that in mind. So this has a T9400 CPU, and of course the aforementioned Mobility HD 3650. So the CPU won't be a limitation. There we go, that's all the stuff now. This is a reasonably demanding one. And you're about to see that this is actually a decently well-performing graphics card. I'm actually a little surprised at how good the HD 3650 is. It feels faster than the NVIDIA NVS 160M used in the Latitude E6400. I think it's actually a much faster card. So if you're going for more gaming than business, go for the T500. If you're going for more business than gaming, go for the Latitude E6400. I mean, look at this. This is running marvelously. This is the lowest graphics setting, but I mean, this is a frickin' ThinkPad. It's not like this is a laptop built for gaming. And as far as gaming goes, it is doing far from poorly. I am not driving that well, but this ThinkPad is running. I mean, this is running better than some gaming laptops that I've played with on this channel. So yes, the 3650 is definitely much faster than the NVIDIA NVS 160M in latitudes of the era that's based on the GeForce 210. So of course the Radeon is faster. However, the drivers are a little wonkier, and you can't use the switchable graphics mode on the ThinkPad. Just keep that in mind. Let's see. We'll try one more track, one more event. Another one that's a little hard on the graphics. As you can see, I mean, of course, it's running completely fine. So 1680 by 1050, as is the native resolution of the display, and we're going to turn it up from 1 to 2 graphics quality here. Yes, it's still running marvelously. This Radeon HD card, I mean, this is almost 1080p, and it's still handling just fine. I mean, there's a little lag. I wish Blur did allow you to customize your graphics settings a little bit more rather than just having 3 presets that you choose from. Oh crap. But, I mean, it's running fantastically. So much better than you would get from a NVIDIA NVS 160M that was really their common business laptop competitor at this time. But of course, as I mentioned, the drivers for the NVS are officially supported on Windows 10 and they're more stable. I know there's a lot of ThinkPad users that use Linux. I am not a Linux fan myself. You do you. But yeah, I don't know what the driver situation is like on Linux, but I know that AMD drivers are generally better on Linux. Better than on Windows, and also better than NVIDIA drivers on Linux, I should clarify. I'm actually doing great in this race, so I'm going to finish because I'm getting a really nice score. And then we'll move on to testing something else. But, I mean, even through, like, explosions, particle effects, water on the ground, the ATI card is handling absolutely wonderfully. Much better than one would expect from an old business laptop like the T500. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the ThinkPad T500 served me well there, did absolutely wonderfully in that race, just as the ATI graphics card did absolutely wonderfully at running the game. So, up next. Oh yeah, that's something else I don't like. Moving my finger to the left on the touchpad sometimes brings that up. But, let's see, what else can we do that's a little heavy? Unreal Tournament 2004. Of course, again, 1680 by 1050. Native resolution of the display. I've got my stupid mods running, as always. And we will do Ice Tomb, the famous video card melter. Here we go. I'm gonna try playing with the nipple. I'm gonna play with the nipples. Jesus Christ. Oh, oh boy, track point gaming is certainly interesting. That's interesting. So the keyboard input interrupts the touchpad, but not the track point. So you can't use keyboard and touchpad simultaneously, but you can use keyboard and track point at the same time without one interrupting the input of the other. That's a little funky. I want to at least achieve one kill. No! Stole my kill. Whoa, what happened there? See, that middle mouse button does not do what it should. This is not the middle mouse button as God intended. Like that, the middle mouse button should not have taken me to the desktop. Ah! Oh no. Lenovo also has a really stupid idea of where the function key should go. It's to the left of control. If you use the ThinkPad frequently, you'd get used to it. I am not used to it though. I am used to every other keyboard on Earth that has it to the right of control. So I find it bothersome. But yeah, it's running just fine. I mean, of course, if it runs Blur fine, it's going to run Unreal Tournament 2004 without any issues. What happened there? Why did it shut down? Well, that was odd. Let's try that again. LA Rush time. Wow. Yeah, running absolutely beautiful. This ThinkPad runs games like a dream unless it shuts down. I mean, it's not overheating. That can't be it. Yeah, what's going on there? Is like my charger wattage not enough? I mean, I've got the Lenovo 90-watt charger. I'm not sure what's going on. So we'll fire it up one more time. I'm sorry that you can't see the screen as well as you can with my other camera, but my other camera broke, so I'm on this one for a little while, and oh god. Alright, so, well, that's where we're gonna have to wrap up the ThinkPad T500. So clearly, the ATI graphics drivers are not doing us any favors here. I'm automatically blaming the ATI drivers because I can't imagine what on earth would be causing this problem otherwise. So, display and integrated graphics only. Not just to say, oh, ATI bad, but like genuinely that is likely the issue. So we're just going to disable that, stick with the Intel GMA, reboot, and I bet it's going to work completely fine. Awesome. Now, of course, because I've never used this graphics card on the system before, I don't have the driver for it installed, so the screen won't be running at the correct resolution, but at least it works. let's get online so we can install that driver really quickly. So that's the risk you run with AMD graphics on a machine of this era. The 4000 series is really the first ATI cards that you should consider using on Windows 10. The 3000 series cards do things like this, and it's bothersome. So that concludes my retrospective of the ThinkPad T500. I am led to the opinion that ThinkPads are in fact great machines, but they do have some fatal flaws that keep me from recommending them over other business laptops of the era, ProBooks, EliteBooks, Latitudes, etc. As you saw, of course, the graphics are more powerful and also far more unstable than you would get on an NVIDIA-based laptop like a Latitude, or perhaps even a Dell Precision with an MXM slot, so you could switch out graphics cards, pick your poison, and hopefully not an ATI. Because again, I'm not just, harping on the meme of ATI bad, but you saw what happened. I mean, that was genuinely a driver problem caused by the discrete graphics. So if you're using Windows 7 or you're willing to risk instability like that to get the more powerful graphics and the bigger display and of course the ThinkPad name, that's your choice. Go for it. More power to you. But just be aware that ThinkPads, although they do come highly recommended, are imperfect, as is any laptop. So that's where I'm going to wrap up the review of the ThinkPad T500. Thank you everyone for joining me. I hope this was educational in your purchase decisions, or maybe just entertaining, that too. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you'll come back and watch more later.